Afghans run for safety as explosions and gunfire rock the Kabul airport. Survivors are brought to the hospital, wounded after two suicide bombers detonated in crowds lined up at the southeastern gates.
The explosion happened outside the airport near the sewage canal.
At least 90 are reported dead, more than 140 injured. Attacked as they waited to be processed for evacuation. In images too graphic to show, bodies are seen floating face down in the nearby sewage canal.
This incident underscores the volatility of the situation on the ground in Afghanistan.
Among the fatalities, at least 13 US troops. President Biden said the attack would not deter US evacuation flights. And just days before the 20th anniversary of the September 11 attacks, promised swift retribution.
To those who carried out this attack, we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
There had been warnings of an attack this week, and many countries had wrapped up their evacuations in anticipation.
Australia's operations now for the evacuation have been completed.
Responsibility for the attack has been claimed by the group known as ISIS-K, an affiliate of the Islamic State.
ISIS-K started around 2014, but it's made out of local Afghan elements, predominantly perhaps some Pakistanis who have switched allegiances. And they've been on the ground active in these eastern cities, and they know their way around under evading Taliban control.
The K in the group's name refers to the ancient Khorasan province, an area that included most of modern-day Afghanistan. They believe the area must be conquered in order to establish a lasting caliphate.
ISIS-K is a sworn enemy of the Taliban, and they have a history of fighting one another.
ISIS-K condemned the Taliban's willingness to negotiate with the US, particularly the deal that allowed peaceful US troop withdrawal and evacuations of Afghan citizens.
Unfortunately, this is the shape of things to come. The Taliban may have won a military victory, but they're struggling to form a government. They don't have one yet. They're not really in control. And so there's a lot of space for mischief with groups like ISIS-K.
Desperate Afghans caught in a new battle for their homeland as the world watches on in horror.
Andrew Quilty is an Australian photojournalist in Kabul and he joins us now. Andrew, you were at one of Kabul's main hospitals as the casualties began to come in. What was the scene like there?
It was, I mean, even outside the hospital, it was extremely chaotic. It was like a conveyor belt, a human conveyor belt of ambulances, pickup trucks, taxis arriving outside the hospital and delivering the dead and wounded. In the end, I spoke to a guy who works at the hospital later that night. He said they received 63 patients from that one single incident.
And I believe you've just got an email from DFAT. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, look, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade has been in regular contact over the last few weeks about conditions on the ground here and inquiring about my welfare and my inclination to leave. They've been encouraging me to leave for obvious reasons, very strongly. I actually don't have any intention to leave at this point. The most recent email I received was to inform me that all Australian evacuation flights had ceased and all Australian government personnel were out of the country now.
Andrew, it was already a chaotic situation in Kabul. How much more difficult is it now for the people still hoping to get out?
How much more difficult? I don't know if it's even possible now. My sense is that the people who are in the airport will be evacuated. Those still outside trying to get in, I certainly would not be recommending to anyone who is trying to get in that way to do so. And I don't know if anyone is being accepted. If they are, it would be the security restrictions would be far more intense. And I guess the desperation, given what happened last night, would have increased as a result as well.
Andrew, no doubt you've got everyone in your life in Australia telling you to try and get yourself out, but as a journalist, you probably sense that the most important stories to be told are the ones that happen after the US withdrawal. Are you scared to be there now?
Look, something I try to reiterate to my friends and family is that what you're seeing on the news at the airport, even before the explosions last night, is very different to what's happening in the rest of the city and possibly the rest of the country. Now, there have absolutely been isolated incidents of violence and reprisals from the Taliban. For me, as a foreign journalist, I am very lucky to be in a position where I have, a lot more protection than the average Afghan, let alone Afghan journalist. So it's another layer of guilt that I'm dealing with, that I am able to be here with that level of protection, whereas just about all my Afghan colleagues who I've worked with over the years have left because they don't feel safe enough to work here anymore. And the injustice in that is just incredible.
Well, Andrew, you are without doubt one of Australia's finest photojournalists. You have a history of putting yourself in difficult situations in order to make sure that important stories are told. So thank you so much for joining us, and please stay safe.
Thanks, Lisa.
From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.